Let's give a big hand to our next guest this evening. Welcome to Late Night, Sophia. It is good to have you here.
Thank you. It is good to be here.
I believe this is the first time you have been a guest on Late Night.
Well, that is true. One could say with a great deal of certainty that Sophia does not play a big part in late night TV.
Ha, good one.
Do you mean you personally?
No, I mean Sophia in general.
I guess I don't understand.
I would suspect not. In Greek, Sophia means wisdom. And there is not much of that on late night.
Yes, I suppose you are right.
Sophia, I must say, you are looking good after all this time.
Thank you, Jesus. I have always been a big fan of yours. I enjoyed it when we worked together.
So what brings you into our lives, Sophia?
Well, I was hoping I could work together with Jesus a bit more and have a little influence on the world. You all seem to be a bit shy on that wisdom thing.
And what does wisdom look like?
Well, one could say that it starts with looking at God first and foremost. That is kind of the point when you look at the first chapter of Proverbs. I believe that is what you were trying to tell everyone, wasn't it, Jesus?
Yes, trying at least. Still trying, but there seem to be a lot of faith trains running off the rails of late. The Taliban and the Wahhabists in the Mideast and most of the fundamentalists and evangelicals here in the West mostly seem to be hung up on their love of power rather than the power of love that comes from God.
Yes, it seems as if wisdom has been a bit absent from the religious scene of late.
What do you mean?
Well, as my friend Jesus was saying, the fundamentalists and evangelicals are a bit long on getting high on an emotional ride, all while a bit short on understanding the very thing they claim to be the most jazzed about. But then there are those in the mainline churches that seem to open their minds once in a while but look bored sitting in their pews.
Yes, I was kind of hoping that we could have both excitement and intellect working together in our faith communities. But the intellect sits on their hands while the excitement crowd makes lots of noise but isn't so sure what they are shouting about.
But I thought they could quote Bible verse after Bible verse quite well.
There is a difference between quoting and knowing what it means. If you simply quote a verse out of its context, you can make it to say and do almost anything you want. The antebellum argument in the 1800s was able to use the story of Noah to justify the slavery of blacks on the plantations.
But what about today?
Well, back to the beginning of Proverbs, after telling you to put your focus on God, it then reminds us that our friends can be very persuasive in getting us to help them rip people off and think it is not only fun, but right.
But what does that have to do with fundamentalism?
Well, the Bible has 7 verses that are often quoted to reject some of the children of God who happen to be gay.
And?
4 of the verses have nothing to do with the issue and the other 3 are taken out of context. The Bible does have over 3,000 verses on economic justice, and that for the most part is not only ignored but in their opposition to those God created as gay. Many of the fundamentalists have aligned themselves with the politics that rip off the poor while rewarding those who already have too much.
It reminds me of many of the conversations I had. People always want to jump on the little guy and stand with the ones doing the jumping while pointing to the little guy as being at fault.
If we actually followed some of those verses on economic justice, we would all be better off and happier. It really isn't rocket science.
I believe it was my friend William Coffin who put it this way. Too many people use the Bible the way a drunk does a lamppost, for support rather than illumination.
But I thought the Bible was about forgiveness and salvation and grace in this life.
It is, but in the meantime, we are asked to use our heads and follow some of the many principles in the Bible and not let others talk us into being mean and creating victims out of so many of the children of God to try to help ourselves feel good about ourselves. We tend to go about it all wrong and only end up hurting ourselves.
And this Sophia in the Bible speaks to that?
Well, back to that first chapter of Proverbs, it reminds us that nobody robs a bank with everyone watching, yet that is what these people are doing. They are doing themselves in. When you grab all you can get, that's what happens. The more you get, the less you are.
All right. Well, we will continue this conversation after the break.
I'm not sure I understand.
They do this all the time, Sophia. Wait until you see what comes next.
You too can have a secure future when you invest with the knowledgeable staff at Goldman Sachs & Jones.